Created by Joss Whedon and John Cassidy, the mutant green-locked spymaster named Abigail Brand first appeared in 2004 in a cameo in Astonishing X-Men issue 3, before making her big full appearance debut just a couple issues later. So let's talk about her. Thanks for watching JLS Comics. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I upload videos just like this every week. Alright, let's jump into our story. In Marvel Comics, S.W.O.R.D is the sentient World Observation and Response Department. Where S.H.I.E.L.D. deals with threats on Earth, S.W.O.R.D deals with threats above Earth and to Earth. S.W.O.R.D's base of operations is a space station in orbit above Earth, which is called Peak. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the S.W.O.R.D organization made a full debut in the Disney Plus WandaVision series. However, that acronym was changed to be the Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division, a S.H.I.E.L.D. subdivision formed by Maria Rambeau after Vision's body was recovered in the wake of the Avengers Infinity War events. And not much is known about who Abigail Brand actually is, other than starting off as a special agent and commander of S.W.O.R.D. Here's what we do know though. During the events of Secret Invasion, Abigail is revealed to be, at that time, 28 years old. We also know that her dad was an alien, and her Earthling mother gave Abigail the X gene, making Abigail part alien and part mutant. She can create blue flames with her hands, and the unique structure of her tongue allows for great multilingual abilities. We also know that Abigail has a half-alien brother, who's named Lothi Thanriaxiexus, or Lothi for short. The 2004 Astonishing X-Men title begins with the newly reformed team, which was Emma, Kitty Pryde, Beast, Cyclops, and Wolverine, rescuing hostages from a guy named S.W.O.R.D of the Breakworld, who'd taken hostages just as a quote-unquote cure for the mutant X gene was announced, as having been discovered by Dr. Kavita Rao of the Benetech Corporation. Dr. Rao was a pawn of S.W.O.R.D's, and the X-Men picked up some of the weapons S.W.O.R.D's foot soldiers from the hostage event used and discovered that those weapons were S.H.I.E.L.D. technology. So Cyclops went up to Nick Fury's S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier to ask him to figure out how they got their hands on the weapons, and it was there that Abigail Brand made her cameo debut. Emerging from the shadows, as Cyclops left the room, she asked Nick, "What do you think he knows?" The X-Men went to Benetech to take it down and destroy the cure, and there Kitty Pryde found Colossus, and Colossus had saved mutants from the legacy virus, and everyone believed he had died. Kitty had even taken his ashes back to Russia, but it was S.W.O.R.D of the Breakworld who resurrected Peter, and at that point he was turned into a test subject and held in captivity. And so the X-Men freed Colossus, and Colossus took out S.W.O.R.D, and just as the alien fell, S.H.I.E.L.D. showed up, led by Nick Fury and Abigail Brand. It's then revealed that Abigail was part of Rao's operation and knew about S.W.O.R.D, which is why she asked Fury earlier how much Cyclops knew. Abigail had a file on a mutant named Tildy Soames, who was one of Dr. Rao's test subjects. When Fury and Brand showed up, they told the X-Men that S.W.O.R.D had diplomatic immunity and they needed to back off. Abigail told the X-Men that she was head of S.W.O.R.D and she was working with people like S.W.O.R.D to prevent war from coming to Earth's doorstep. It was prophesized via visions from Breakworld and S.W.O.R.D's precogs that Breakworld, or its homeworld, would be destroyed within the next 3 years by a mutant. So working with S.W.O.R.D to find out which mutant it would be to destroy S.W.O.R.D's Breakworld would be actually preventing S.W.O.R.D from acting upon his declaration of a preemptive strike on Earth and all-out war. Abigail had to face the board because they believed she'd crossed a line in her mission, but she replied, "There is no line. For the safety of this planet, there is no one I will not sacrifice, no monster I will not call my friend, no enemy I will not sleep with." She told them that there were threats out there in the universe that wanted to destroy Earth, and she would do whatever needed to be done to save her planet. In Astonishing X-Men 8, we see Abigail doing push-ups, and there we see her tattoos. One arm had the name Grace, and the other had the name Anna tattooed on it, though it's not revealed to this day who those two people are. An agent came in to speak with her to inform her that their taps on the X-Mansion were offline, and their mole in the X-Men was not responding. With help from Sidron and Agent Deems, Abigail continued to monitor the X-Mansion, even as they were attacked by a sentient physical manifestation of the Danger Room, calling herself Danger. Brand went to S.W.O.R.D's prison cell to ask him if the threat at the X-Mansion was one of his friends, but he ended up denying it. And it was Beast who seemingly took out Danger, saving the team and Professor X in the process. After Nick Fury conducted an unsanctioned secret war on Latveria, Fury went into hiding, and so Maria Hill was appointed director of S.H.I.E.L.D. in his place. On the flight deck of a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier stationed up in the clouds, S.H.I.E.L.D. director Maria Hill confronted Commander Abigail Brand. Maria told her she knew she'd broken countless laws in her Machiavellian methodology, but Brand just told her that the threats were intergalactic, meaning they were so far out of Maria Hill's jurisdiction she couldn't even breathe there. It was the start of a very contentious relationship between the two ladies. Maria told her she'd step in if Brand continued continued to break international laws, and Brand basically said, "Bring it on," as she got in her ship and launched off the front of the helicarrier to head up to the Peak space station. While Brand and her team on Peak Station continued to work to figure out which mutant was part of the Breakworld prophecy, Danger invaded the space station and went to the brig to talk with S.W.O.R.D. That's when Danger let S.W.O.R.D. out of his cell and he smashed through a window to space outside, so Brand yelled, "Scramble a shuttle and pick him up, now!" She was still unaware that Danger had helped S.W.O.R.D. Commander Brand grabbed a shoulder-fired rocket launcher and shot S.W.O.R.D.'s shuttle out of the sky. He survived, but was greatly slowed down. So Agent Deem said he thought S.W.O.R.D. was trying to kill himself, and that's when Brand dropped a bomb. "It would make sense," she said. "What would you do if the one mutant destined to destroy your entire planet is the one you brought back to life?" Yes, she figured it out, and she was talking about Peter Rasputin, Colossus. In Astonishing X-Men 17, we learn that Brand's mole in the X-Men is Lockheed, Kitty Pryde's alien pet dragon. Then Abigail parked a S.W.O.R.D. ship just over the X-Mansion to teleport the X-Men aboard, abducting them for the trip to Breakworld. And on the trip through space, Brand had the X-Men, S.W.O.R.D. and Danger confined in a localized gravity surge bubble. But even with this activated, Kitty was still able to get a handgun to the back of Abigail's green-haired head. Abby wasn't worried though. "This child's not a killer," she said. Brand just rolled her eyes. She also said that she gave Danger several 100,000 viruses, and if she tried to access any computer system to try to escape, all those viruses would be activated. A few hours later, Abigail met with her newly formed team, and she told them that when S.W.O.R.D. broke free, he contacted Breakworld, his homeworld, and so they had sent out an entire armada to meet them, which was also part of Abby's plan, which was to draw that armada and the Breakworlders away from Earth. And they were tasked with getting to Breakworld before they destroyed the very ship they were on. Brand also revealed to her captives that the Power Lord Kroon, ruler of the Breakworlders, had built a failsafe, a deadly missile capable of cracking the Earth in half, and she needed superheroes to prevent that from happening. Then on the surface of Breakworld, Beast and Brand rode out on space motorcycles to hunt for the Retaliator missile, while Kroon hit them with Snowstrike, a weather weapon that dumped tons of snow and ice right on top of the green and blue heroes of Earth. Later, back at the ship with the rest of the crew, they headed to Breakworld's moon, which they discovered was actually the missile launch complex for the Retaliator missile. Abigail got disgusted as she revealed to Kitty that Lockheed was her mole, and then Emma Frost chimed in. "You're so unpleasant, even I'm impressed. Do you visit orphanages to explain there's no Santa?" Brand said that Lockheed helped them out because she was helping him with some homeworld issues of his own. While Brand and the X-Men held off Kroon's forces so Colossus could destroy the power to the planet, Brand dove and took a hit from a Breakworlder's weapon and went down, saving Beast in the process, but she was hit. She said he's the genius, and she told him through her green shatter glasses that she needed him to use his genius mind to disarm the missile and save Earth, and then she passed out. Kroon's men surrounded Brand and the X-Men, who formed a picket line, while Colossus completed his mission behind them, which was to go into the missile complex to destroy it from within. One of the soldiers pushed Brand up against a wall, and she said to him, "There's two things you need to know about me. I never get gang raped on a first date, and Brand is not my given name." Afterward, Beast bandaged her up, and she told him, "I'm so hot for you right now, I could frickin' pass out." Afterward, she recruited Beast to work with her at S.W.O.R.D. Later, Beast called Abigail down from Peak to help with a project. As she touched down, she said, "Hank, I thought you were waiting until the weekend to play alien science pervert," cementing the idea that they were now officially a couple. Inside Beast's lab, Abigail told him that the box he had was a ghost box, a device to open gates to parallel Earths. Brand and Cyclops then argued over who had rights to the ghost box, and they further confirmed their status as a couple, where Beast called her his girlfriend and she said, "Xenophiliac experimentation partner." They settled on the ghost box still being under mutant jurisdiction, which meant, Cyclops said to her, that gives her tonight to commit crimes against nature with Hank McCoy, to which she replied, "Cool." During Secret Invasion, Abigail invited S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Dum Dum Duggan aboard S.W.O.R.D's orbital space station, but he turned out to be a Skrull imposter and blew up the Peak station. Abigail managed to escape with her life and floated through space for a while, managing to still report an invading Skrull armada and even leading the attack and boarding one of the Skrull ships. She was also able to free Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four, who'd been imprisoned on the Skrull ship, and it was Mr. Fantastic who took Abigail later to the Savage Land. After Secret Invasion, Beta Ray Bill came to Abigail looking for information relating to Galactus. Abigail gave Bill the information he wanted, but she stressed that Galactus should never find out where Bill got that information from, lest Galactus would want to retaliate against Earth and come eat it. Then Abigail recruited Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, to be an agent of S.W.O.R.D, and Jessica's first mission as a S.W.O.R.D operative was to go to Madripoor to hunt Skrulls, where running into and killing one posing as Spider-Man, and then running into Madam Hydra and the Thunderbolts. We later see Abigail returning from an asteroid belt with a brood and a damaged S.W.O.R.D spaceship careening towards Earth. All her engine power and electronics had gone out, so she couldn't steer or even slow down. The only thing working was her gravity shielding. She was able to get some power back enough to disconnect the escape capsule and put herself into a re-entry trajectory, and so the X-Men were called up by US Space Command to go help her and save the director of S.W.O.R.D. And so then, now back on the surface of Earth again, she ended up pairing up with the X-Men to fight more Brood and a Bio-Sentinel. And then she revealed to the team that there were forces out there led by an evil geneticist named Kaga who was reanimating dead mutants to send after living ones to wipe them all out. More, she told Hank that they were using his post-M-Day theoretical work to make all that happen. It turns out that she was on that asteroid to begin with because that's where Kaga had built a base full of alien Brood and she wanted to take it out, but then her ship was hit, and so they all went up to the asteroid to stop Kaga and the Brood. It was then, a few years after her debut, that Marvel decided to give Abby and S.W.O.R.D their own self-titled miniseries. The series introduced Henry Gyrick as another S.W.O.R.D commander, where Abby was forced to share her post as co-commander after the events of Secret Invasion. This is when her brother Lothi also showed up seeking refuge from a bounty hunter called Death's Head. Brand and Beast took Falchion 1, the S.W.O.R.D flagship, to pursue Death's Head, who managed to steal Lothi away from Peak, and they were able to rescue him. Meanwhile, Henry Gyrick, wanted to send all aliens home, and this included the half-breed co-commander Abby Brand. So after she freed her brother Lothi, Gyrick captured Brand and put her in the Peak brig, and then Beast hired Death's Head to break his girlfriend Abby and himself out of Peak. But then Gyrick wanted Osborn's hammer and the Dark Avengers to use his team to kill the peaceful Metrolith rock people who had then showed up at Mount Rushmore. So Beast had Death's Head turn around to go to Earth and stop Gyrick and Osborn from killing those Metrolith aliens. Then aliens called Drenks got to the sentient android and S.W.O.R.D's maximum security brig, and they were able to take over Peak and set up an ambush for Brand. Brand was headed back to Peak Station to take control of it back from Gyrick, but the aliens set up an ambush. They shot their way into the brig control room and freed all of Gyrick's prisoners like Beta Ray Bill, Warlock, Adam X, Marvel Boy, and others, all those aliens he wanted to get away from Earth. And Brand went to Gyrick and told them to inform their superior that he would be stepping down or she would release all the dirt that she had on him. And he complied. In the Herald's miniseries, Cyclops invited Valkyrie, She-Hulk, Monica Rambeau, Patsy Walker, and Abby Brand to Emma Frost's birthday party in Las Vegas, which of course is when a bunch of monsters broke out of a S.W.O.R.D containment facility nearby, and this group had to work together to stop those monsters. Next, Brand was on a S.W.O.R.D research satellite called Pandora's Box, helping to control a Brood outbreak. One of the Brood managed to capture Abigail in its tentacles, and her team was forced to shut the airlock with her in there with the xenoforms. It was then up to Beast, Kitty Pryde, Storm, and Colossus to save Abby. She was still alive, but she told them that she was now the host to a Brood larvae. Then, as they all left Pandora's Box so it could be destroyed, Abigail removed her glasses and revealed her Brood transformation was already well underway. In Astonishing X-Men 40, her Brood transformation was nearly complete, though her half-alien physiology helped to delay and slow down the process. She was a green-hair, gun-wielding, bipedal Brood creature locked in an escape capsule with the X-Men and her gun to her lover Beast's head. She told them that with the Brood extinct, the intergalactic ecosystem would be out of whack, so they actually had to save the Brood instead of wiping out what was left of them. Abby then had to scoop up the X-Men again as the Breakworld threat loomed large once more. A Breakworld flagship was now headed towards Earth, and they had to stop it. It was right after this that the X-Men fractured. Cyclops sent child mutants after a super sentinel that attacked Utopia, and that was the last straw for Wolverine. So Beast informed Brand, as she laid in bed, that he was going to run a school for Wolverine's faction. Meanwhile, Brand was still in touch with Cyclops of the other faction and Emma Frost, as Brand needed their help with the dreaming Celestial. In the fight with the Celestial, Abby radioed down to Cyclops that a dozen Celestials were now headed to Earth. Later, with Beast headed up to the Peak for help, he discovered that Sabretooth had attacked the station and had Brand as his hostage out in space while Sabretooth had murdered everyone else on board. So Beast fought with Sabretooth to save his green-haired girlfriend. During the Avengers vs. X-Men event, Abigail teamed up with the Avengers faction and helped them track the Phoenix Force that was headed toward Earth. However, it managed to get here to create the Phoenix Five out of Magic, Namor, Emma Frost, Colossus, and Cyclops. So Abigail paired up with Hank McCoy, along with Brew and Tony Stark, to figure out how to defeat the Phoenix Five. At this time, Beast was still up on the Peak space station looking for clues to save the comatose Brood boy at the school, and yet Brand wanted to drink and hook up with him. "This isn't the first time I've been stood up for a Brood," she said, as she poured herself another another glass of wine. Brand then went down to the raft and scooped up Colossus, who was there as a voluntary prisoner, then grabbed Cable on an island just north of the raft and took them both to Peak as prisoners. She needed help bringing in a genocidal maniac called Click-Talk the Cruel. She was also part of the Age of Ultron event where she unloaded her rifle into the back of Ultron while Thor charged Ultron from the front. Brand and Beast were on Peak when Dr. Xanto Starblood was brought aboard at gunpoint. He was there to help heal bruised brain trauma. Agent Brand also, along with the Avengers, helped Carol Danvers escape from Kree sentries who were using planet Earth as an ammo dump. Brand and Captain America continued to use Peak and Captain Marvel's apartment in New York to coordinate their attacks against the Kree sentries. And during the Infinity event where Thanos and his Black Order came to Earth looking for his son Thane, Abigail and S.W.O.R.D were naturally at the tip of that spear that was Earth's response. She was working with the Avengers hunting Skrulls when Captain Universe suddenly showed up on Peak right at Brand's feet. Brand had ex-Nyla working on a way to recover the female Captain Universe. They discovered that a massive builder fleet was headed directly toward Earth to raise it and destroy it. So the Avengers launched from Peak to fly out to meet the builder fleet, and this is when Thanos had taken his opportunity with the Avengers off-world to attack Earth. Brand had just fought her way back onto Peak when Thanos' fleet decloaked all around them. And so now, captive on Peak, she reached out to the Guardians of the Galaxy for help, and they, along with Angela, came to Brand's aid. And they fought bravely and heroically as the last line of defense to save the planet. In X-Men Legacy, Legion summoned Abigail to help fight a big monster, but the monster incinerated Abigail and she perished. Later though, Legion revived her and everyone else that had died in that fight. However, this act cost Legion his own life. Later on Peak, Manifold told Brand that a Shi'Ar named Deathbird was floating, paralyzed, unconscious, and nearly dead outside of the station, close enough that Deathbird's body triggered the proximity alarm. So Brand called up the X-Men to investigate while Dr. Cecilia Reyes treated Deathbird on station. That's when a massive swarm of Sidrian hunters besieged Peak to reclaim Deathbird and her baby. And as Abby continued to fight alongside Manifold Tiger, Jubilee, and Storm, the hull was breached and the Peak shield failed, and so they all had to hold on tightly as the room rapidly decompressed all around them. This is when Sharada Darthry of the Providian Order brought her brood scrolls to reclaim Deathbird's baby and tasked Manifold with killing everyone else. Manifold had become a traitor. Manifold and Brand fought as Jubilee jumped on his back and bit him with her fangs because hey, Jubilee's a vampire too, why not? Manifold had Abby by the neck, and that's when Deathbird reawoke and attacked. They all worked together to defeat the Brood Skrulls and keep Deathbird out of Shi'Ar hands. Next, Brood wearing Venom symbiotes attacked the station, still trying to get to Deathbird's baby, but after a brief fight, Brand said they'd blow them out the airlock in a very Aliens movie move. Later, the S.W.O.R.D mission was supplanted by Alpha Flight, which was led by Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel from Alpha Flight's space station. And when this reorganization happened, Abigail became a lieutenant commander under Captain Marvel, a role that Abby herself had turned down. However, she was still frosty and cold toward Carol, but to be fair, she's like that with everyone. So from her sub-commander position along with Captain Marvel and aboard AFSS, she helped with the Galactus Lifebringer event, with the second superhuman civil war, and even a Chitauri invasion. They used Alpha Flight and the Ultimates team to dispatch on various missions in space during this time, even coming to the aid of Jimmy Woo's Protectors team at one point, and another time working with Black Panther and the Agents of Wakanda to track objects thrown into orbit. However, when the world learned that Captain Marvel was part Kree, Carol stepped down as commander of Alpha Flight, and so Abigail took over the leadership role, and for a brief time, Abby joined up with the rest of the mutants on the island nation of Krakoa. During the Empire event, Abby got angry with Carol while at Wicked and Hulkling's wedding, and so she decided she needed to change things up. So after the events of X of Swords and into Reign of X, Abigail resigned from Alpha Flight and led a new mutant-heavy iteration of a reformed S.W.O.R.D based at S.W.O.R.D Station 1, because now there's going to be a whole fleet of them, at the same time, while Jean Grey and Cyclops decided to also reform the X-Men. This new team was Manifold, Quiet Council of Krakoa Liaison, Magneto, Cable, Fabian Cortez, Mentalo, WizKid, Peeper, Risque, and Frenzy, each of them leading their own division or directorate of S.W.O.R.D. Peak itself was now in geosynchronous orbit above Krakoa. Abby had grown frustrated at Alpha Flight. She now thought that mutants and Earth's heroes were keeping too many secrets, and yet, ironically, it was Abigail herself who ended up keeping her own secrets as part of Protocol 5. As Al Ewing said in an interview recently, it's pretty simple. Brand likes secrets as long as she is the one keeping them. She needs to know everything, all the information in order to do her job, but part of her job as she sees it is keeping some of the same information from getting out into the world. They had to work together from Peak to penetrate the organic Clintar shell around Earth and to take on Null. She also terraformed Mars with mutant tech and installed a Peak sister station called the Keep above Mars, where they'd run diplomatic meetings trying to sell the mysterious element Mysterium to other civilizations as the thing that comes next, the future. Lately, Abigail remains on Peak, and recently they had received both Nova and Star-Lord to the station for the Hellfire Gala. "Welcome to S.W.O.R.D, gentlemen. Hope you survived the experience," she told them. And I hope you've survived the experience of watching this video. That's a wrap on this one, my friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and you'll be one of the first to know when I upload videos just like this every week. I'm Jesse. This is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.